Hello, good people. Today we're going to take a step back for a minute and then introduce ourselves to Python. I'm sorry, we in our previous videos we had taken a step further, but let's get this started. So, um, we'd like to understand what Python is, what it used for, and the likes. So with me here on my screen is these are the other files we had done initially, but I'm going to do a brief intro and then uh, we can get back to the process later. Um, so we're going to do introduction of Python. So um, Python is a programming language mostly used um, in the current generation. Python is mostly used for building websites, automating tasks, analyzing data, making games. There's a lot more to this. I've just listed few functions of Python. It's for building websites, automation, gaming. Just to name a few. Also, if you've been keen enough, the current large language models uses Python. So that's another use of Python. There are many more to this list. Um, why should a person learn Python? Um, there are many reasons why a person should learn Python. Among the reasons why a person should learn Python is it's easy to learn. Python learning Python syntax are easy to understand, easy to learn, easy to write, and easy to master. So that's among the reasons why a person should learn Python. Another reason why a person should learn Python is it's used almost everywhere. With this list having said it's used for that, it's basically almost used everywhere due to automate. For websites, we have frameworks in Python that both handle backend and frontend easily. So basically, Python is used almost everywhere, if not everywhere. Another reason is it's beginner friendly. Easy to learn means that if you're a beginner, it's easy to learn. So you can say it's beginner friendly. There are many reasons why a person should learn Python. Another thing is the job opportunities. Job opportunities in learning Python are many. Given that the areas in which Python is used is large, means that the job market for Python as well is huge. So a person would ask, how do you install and run Python in your system? So personally, I'm using Linux application, so it's easy to run installation just in the command line. So if you're using Windows, if you're using Windows, you'll go to python.org on your application. Then you can install Python. Now, python.org has a different Python versions, so you can just install one of it. Once you've installed it, now add it to path. Add to path. Once you've added to path, now you will have Python installed on your machine. For you to run Python, you will have to run it on an IDE. For this case, IDE means integrated development environment. So there are various IDEs to use in development. For example, the one you see on your screen is VS Code. it's normally shown by this icon. This is an icon of VS Code. So I use VS Code in running all our tutorials will be on VS Code. You're free to download and run other VS Codes. We have others like Sublime. We have others like okay, there are many more IDs, VS Code, Sublime, Notepad, PyCharm, and many more. We can also run your programs online if you don't want the stress of downloading the IDE on your machine. So how would you know that? How would you know you have Python installed in your machine? So for you to know that Python is installed in your machine, there are many simple ways you can test if you have Python running on your machine. So you'll create a folder. Once you create a folder, for example, mine is in projects in a folder called Python. So let me say. So for you to know that you are running, you can on the terminal you can type print open and close bracket. This is a syntax of writing. Example of syntax of writing Python. So you write print opening and closing bracket. Then you type your statement here. So most of the time, when writing your among the most used statements in introduction statements in programming languages is hello world. There's something I'm doing wrong here. Okay, let me see. Okay, I should really be. So I'm going to create a file, put our statement in a file, then run it. Then we'll see if it brings the word hello world in our terminal. So I'll go to for you to change from one folder to another folder in the terminal, you use cd. So I'm now in the folder we're in now. So I'm going to create a file called intro.py. Oh, sorry, it should be a dot. Now I'll write our statement there, print if you do have a open close bracket, then the speech marks, then write your statement here, hello world, and save. On our terminal here, let's clear this. Now our terminal is clean. Let's test to see if we'll have the hello world in our statement. We'll type a Python intro.py. Now on our terminal we have the word hello world. That's the one we have here. So you can type whichever statement you want to have. You want to type your name, or you can type your name here. Your name. So on our terminal we'll have 2 lines, hello world and then your name. So you can print whatever you can have whatever you want to have here. Then we'll have this in the terminal. This shows us that Python is installed in our application, in our system, and it's running. So we can now learn a few things about Python and how Python works. How do we have output and input and the likes in Python? So first things I'd like us learn know in Python is something called variables. So in Python, variables are what stores stuff. They are like boxes, right? Like they store stuff, I'd say. Now, for example, if I want to store my name in a variable, okay, variable we've said is there are boxes that store stuff. Let's call that for now. In a good definition of a variable can it's a piece of memory that store value. Okay, basically, like it's like a box. They store value. So for example, I can say a is equals to my name, right? So for instance here, we're going to say a is equals to EasyCodeLab. So for this instance, when we print the word a, we're going to see EasyCodeLab. Let's try this in our file here. So we've said we're going to say a is our name, which is EasyCodeLab. So when we print a, we're not going to see a, we're going to see EasyCodeLab because a has been used as a variable and a has been used to store this statement. So let's see, when we run our file, we see in the terminal that we see EasyCodeLab, which is what we have here. So now a is a variable that stores EasyCodeLab. So we can store anything here. We can store your name, you can store whichever thing. So if you want to store the hello world as well in a variable, you can easily just paste it here. Now when we print a, we see we get the name, we get hello world. That's an easy explanation of a variable. So a stores hello world, and then you can print. You can store age as well. You can say age is equals to 30 or 50, depending on the name, on the age, or 10 or 5. Now, there are two different ways of when we store a string, when we store an integer. I bet it's visible. For a string, we use this opening and closing. Use it opening the speech mark. Sorry. We use yes, exactly. For a string, we use opening and closing speech mark. For an integer, we just input the number. I bet that's clear. So we can talk a little bit about data types. What I just talked of the string, integer, they are called data types. So data types, they are mostly integers for a number. We have strings, we have float, we have boolean. Mostly these are what we're going to use for now. So for an integer, we're going to use the word int to represent integer most of the time. We're going to use str for string. We're going to use we're going to use float for float. Basically, we just kept float. Then we're going to use bool for boolean. So a simple explanation of what each stores. So an integer stores a thing like 10, 20, 30, just the whole numbers. A string stores things like your name, EasyCodeLab, things like school, things like church, things like mosque, temple. Etc. etc. For a float, now we're going to say 10.20, 20.36, 30.69, etc. etc. For boolean, it says that we have yes or no, 1 or 0, true or false. True or false. It's either 0 or 1. That's how most of these data types are represented. So we can check a little bit of this in our So when writing your Python code, we have things like comments as well. This is a comment. Okay. Another, if you have, that's when you have one line, like you see each is commented out line by line. If I want to comment from line 5 to line 7, I'm going to use you see the speech marks but in 3. When I copy that and paste here, now all our statements from line 5 to line 10 are commented out. So when I print this file, there's nothing to be seen. For example, you see now download, there's nothing. So for data types, okay, I wanted us to do a little bit of data types. So we're going to let me see this. Okay. Okay. We've just had an introduction for data types, so I guess we can cover more about data types in a different video, so that this video becomes short, so you can easily get what we're trying to get. So we'll have, as we go along, again we'll get to cover conditional statements. These are things like if, else, if, else, if else, then we have if else, if, then we have nested if. So for example, like nested ifs. Like we have more than one if statements. If this, else this. If this, else if this, else. Basically, we have this else if. So we have if, else if, else. Basically, we're having more than one statement. So if we'll cover that as we go along. We'll have loops as well. Loops now. Loops, we're going to use 4 statements. For this, in this, do this. Basically, for loops are things that happen, I'd say, in a circular manner somehow. Then we'll have functions, which we have in the folder here. I bet we've done a little bit of, but we'll get back to it. We'll have lists. I bet that's more of introduction of what Python does and what you can do with Python. In our next video, we're going to cover more. We're going to go deep into each of the subtopics, variable, data types, conditions, then write as more examples as we can, so that we can all be on the same page. That's it for today. Thanks for your time. See you in the next video.